This is the video for 3.1 perfect squares, square roots, and x squared equals p. So here they are showing us what 2 squared means. 2 squared is written as a regular 2 with an exponent of 2, and it means 2 times 2, or 4. So 3 squared is 3 2 times, or 3 times 3, which is 9. 4 squared is written 4 to the second power, and it means 4 times 4, and that equals 16. Now the other thing that we have to remember is our negative numbers. When we are looking at negative numbers, the same thing is also going to be true. So here they're showing us that negative 2 times negative 2 is going to be positive 4. Negative 3 times negative 3 is going to be positive 9. And negative 4 squared is going to be negative 4 times negative 4, or positive 16. Okay, now let's look at the square root. The square root of a number is another number that is that when it is multiplied by itself is going to be equal to the original number. So in this particular case, it looks like this sign right here. We have the square root of 4, and it just wants to know what times itself is going to equal 4. Well, 2 times 2 is going to equal 4, so the square root of 4 is 2. For 9, the square root of 9 is 3, because 3 times 3 is going to equal 9. So you can tell that the relationship between a square and a square root are going to they're all going to be together. So here we have 3 squared, and it equals 9. Well, the square root of 9 is going to equal then 3. So we can see that they're going to be intertwined pretty closely. The next question says the number of solutions. What does x squared equals p mean? So here we have x squared equals 4, and we want to know what that means. We need to remember that that means x times x is going to equal x squared. So we want to know what number times itself is going to equal 4. So I'm going to square root both sides, and that's going to give me 2 times 2 is going to equal 4. But it also could be a negative 2, because a negative 2 times a negative 2 is also going to equal 4. So we write it like this: x equals plus or minus 2, which really means positive or negative 2. So here they're showing us that x squared equals p for a value that is going to be greater than 0. And we know that p times p, the square root of p times the square root of p is going to equal p. So the negative square root of p is also times the negative square root of p is also going to equal p. So it doesn't matter which one we're using. Our answer is always going to come out positive or negative. The square root of the number is going to equal times itself is going to equal the x squared. Okay, one last thing that they want us to know is that when we are solving equations, we're constantly going to do this. So if we have x squared equals 100, we're going to write out our equation, x squared equals 100, and then we're going to square root each side. So I'm going to take the square root of this side and the square root of this side. And when we do that, we need to remember our answer could come out positive or negative. So the square root of x squared is x. Square root of 100 is going to be positive or negative 10. Okay, at the very top of your paper or off on the side, I want you to go ahead and fill in what each of your squares are. So we have 1 squared is going to be 1. 2 squared is going to be 4. 3 squared is going to be 9, because remember it's 3 times 3. 4 squared is 4 times 4. 5 squared is 25. 6 squared is 36. Go ahead and fill those in all the way across up to 12, please. Now that I have all those filled in, I'm just going to run through and see what I can do. Here I'm going to have x squared, and I'm going to square root both sides. So I have x squared, the square root of that is going to be x. And then I'm just going to look up here, and that's going to be 2. So the square root of 4 is 2. When I have x squared equals 81, I'm going to square root this side and square root this side. So x equals 9. And I'm getting that from right here, in case you're not sure. X squared equals 49. I'm going to square root both sides. Remember, you have to be fair and do the same thing to each side. Square root both sides. X is going to equal 4. Now remember, each of these can also be a negative, because a negative 2 times a negative 2 is going to be negative 4. So the way that we're going to write it is x equals positive or negative 2. X equals positive or negative 9. X can also equal negative 7 here, so x equals positive or negative 7. And x equals positive or negative 4. We have y squared equals 625. We're going to square root both sides. We're going to have y equals positive or negative 25. This one looks complicated, but it's not. I'm just going to take the square root of everything that I see one more time. So the square root of a squared is a. The square root of 64 is 8, and the square root of 9 or of 81 is 9. And once again, this could be positive or negative. So I'm just going to take the square root of 64 and then the square root of 81, and I'm going to find a could equal positive or negative 8/9. Go ahead and try this one on your own. So go ahead and press pause, see what you can do here. Okay, now that you're back, we're just going to square root both sides. Y squared is y. The square root of 4 is 2. The square root of 9 is 3. Remember, it could be positive or negative, because I could have 2/3 times 2/3 is going to be 4/9. Or I could have 2/3 that is negative times negative 2/3. A negative times a negative is a positive. 2 times 2 is 4. 3 times 3 is 9. So that's why it works out. Okay, a company makes small custom design stamps that have a square image area. The image has an area of 1,200 millimeters squared. What is the exact length of one side of the image area? And then it says, if your answer is not a perfect square, approximate your answer to the nearest tenth of a millimeter. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to look at our approximate area. Okay, so we remember that area equals length times width. And we remember that if we have area of a square, it is really length times length, because every side is going to be the exact same length. So these are equal because it's a square. So area is going to really be the length of one side squared. So whatever that side length is, I'm going to square it, and that is going to equal my area. Okay, so now that I know that, I'm going to plug in area for 1,200, and it equals side length squared. Well, this is exactly like what we have been doing, just with words. So I'm going to square root this side and square root this side. When I square root it, I'm going to find that my square root is 34.64101615, and it's just going to keep going. And it tells me that if it's not a perfect square, go to the nearest tenth. Well, this right here is the nearest tenth, so the 100th is going to tell me if it's going to go up or stay the same. And we know that 5 or up, we give a shove, 4 or below, we leave alone. So I have 34.6 millimeters. And we are telling you that always it could be a positive or a negative. Well, a negative side length of 34 millimeters does not make sense for a stamp. So in this case, it is only going to be a positive, because that's the only one that's going to make sense. Okay, here we have a square painting that has an area of 460 centimeters squared. And we want to know the length of one side of the painting to the nearest tenth. Remember that when we're doing area of a square, it's side length times side length. So area equals side length squared. My area is 460 degrees, or 460 centimeters, and that's going to equal my side length squared. So I'm going to square root both sides. And when I do that, I'm going to get S equals a really long number. So 21.44761,059. This 4 is the nearest tenth, which is what they've asked me to go to. And so this one's going to stay the same. So the side length is going to be 21.4. And once again, we're only going to take a positive one on that because it doesn't make sense for a painting to be a negative centimeters, a negative length. So this is going to be my answer. Okay, it should be fairly easy. We're going to do 3.1 in class. Thank you. I'll see you then.